Council, listeners, good morning. Madam Chair, I think when you were about to start, you came up to the door and you heard about the deafening noise of one of our speakers. When NAWEC depowered the hall. Madam Chair, if power failure continues like this, I fear for most of our gadgets in the hall. And subsequently, if anything happens to this gadget or they become dysfunctional, I may also recommend for the evacuation of some of those gadgets for overseas medical treatment. Thank you, Madam Chair. Over to you for our next item on the agenda.
Auzubillahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We are sorry that we are beginning late because there was no NAWEC and the generator was on since early in the morning. So we had some technical issues. That is, we couldn't have electricity. On that note, I will call on Honorable Sila to lead us in Muslim prayers and Honorable Joyner to do so in the Christian way. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يأتون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسي السماوات والأرض ولا يعد حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم ببركة اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق الناصر الحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم ولا آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Thank you, Registrar. Can you please call the witnesses?
Good morning, Mr. Witness. Welcome. For continuation of our proceedings, but before we proceed, may I remind you, as usual, that you are still under oath. Madam Chair, over to you for our next item on the agenda. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Sanyang. We are happy to have you back. Council, can we proceed, please? Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson, Commissioners. Good morning, Mr. Sana. Registrar, could you assist? Chairperson, I'm going to have the registrar show the witness the GPPA file KMC 10 of 2019. Now, this is a procurement in respect of a market infrastructure project. Is that right?
Yes, right.
So I'll refer you to a letter dated the 18th of October 2019, written by Kanifing Municipal Council to the Gambia Public Procurement Authority. And in this letter, it's headed Procurement Plan, Market Infrastructure. And it says the Municipal Council would like to submit to your institution a procurement plan for private sector partners in the area of market infrastructure. The Lord Mayor established a task force to expand and upgrade market infrastructure in the Kanifing municipality. This task force has identified the need to provide residents of Kanifing with high-quality facilities to buy and sell their wares, especially to improve the well-being of vendors operating within the council's markets. The council will follow the procurement plan to engage a private sector partner. The task force it should be noted that this project is not anticipated to use any public funds. Instead, the council will leverage its assets to engage in a public-private partnership. And the procurement method and plan that they have set forth is, they've said that the task force on market infrastructure has recommended a two-stage tendering process. Potential bidders and investors will likely suggest various solutions that contain a substantial degree of variance in technology, approach, and contractual solutions. Therefore, in order to obtain the most efficient and cost-effective bids, the Council considers it necessary to first pre-qualify bidders and then enter into direct negotiations with the shortlisted candidates based on the outcome of the agreed scoring methodology in the request for proposals. And they've set out their plan in a table at the bottom of the letter. Did you locate the letter?
Yes.
Okay. So we had this conversation yesterday about pre-qualifying and then proceeding straight to negotiations with shortlisted candidates. You had said that that is not the usual process. Is that right?
Yes, we finally agree that it's a pre-qualification process, the EOI.
No. They have said, if you look at the last paragraph on the procurement method and plan, they have said that they consider it necessary to first pre-qualify bidders and then enter into direct negotiations with the shortlisted candidates. You had, from my recollection, you had said that that is not a usual process. They do not pre-qualify and then go straight to negotiations. Am I right?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. So I refer you to GPPA's letter dated the 22nd of October 2019.
Correct.
Yes?
I'm there.
So your office had written back to them telling them that approval cannot be granted at that stage, and you asked them to provide certain documents. Can you tell us what those documents are?
We asked them to provide a signed copy of GPPA Form 012, which is the declaration forms by members of the Contracts Committee, signed minutes of the Contracts Committee meeting on the agreed course of action, a bidding document or terms of reference, also to provide GPPA Form 005, which is the reporting form for request for proposals, National Requisition Form 100, and we also requested them to provide a visibility study report.
And you also asked them to ensure that the public-private partnership arm of the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs is involved.
Correct.
So they had sent you, you had sent this letter on the 22nd of October 2019. Now,
Yes.
may I refer you to the Canifing Municipal Council Contract Committee meeting minutes dated 21st November 2019.
Correct. Yes.
So the people in attendance were Jaja Cham, acting CEO, Abdullah Kebe, member, Nima Kamara, director of planning, Binta Janet Jalo, member, in bracket councillor, Sheriff Njai, acting director of finance, Lamin S. Sanyang, director of services, Fatumata S. Cham, procurement manager, and Philip Spencer, governance advisor. Now, the minutes that relate to the market infrastructure project are from paragraph 3.1. And they had said that the contracts committee evaluated that, so they had already sent out an expression of interest
Yes.
by that time. And they said that the contracts committee evaluated the expressions of interest received on the market infrastructure project. The governance advisor emphasized that the request for proposals should be open to additional bidders in order to encourage competition. It is prudent to use the open tender method for the RFP to invite more bidders. This is the advice of the council received from GPPA. Do you know whether this advice was given before or after the expressions of interest were
I'm
sent
not very sure, but I think it's after the
EOI?
the EOI.
Do you know if your office was aware that they had already sent out an EOI?
We have no documents to show that they did.
So, this meeting was held on the 21st of November 2019. There's a task force on market infrastructure minutes dated 20th November 2019. This is the report on the expressions of interest received. So this meeting was held the day before the contracts committee meeting. So I'll just go through that. They have said that the task force on the market infrastructure launched a request for expressions of interest for expanding and upgrading market infrastructure in Carnifing Municipality. The deadline for submission was extended to Friday, November 15, 2019, instead of the original deadline of November 8, 2019. The council received one expression of interest by the deadline. And the following is the summary of the submissions received. The company name was Finnish Profiles. The technical experience, on a scale of 1 to 5, they were given 5, said sufficient experience. Financial standing, on a scale of 1 to 5, they were given 5, solid financials. Company information and registration, on a scale of 1 to 5, they were given 5, and they said clear evidence. And in order to encourage competition, the task force has recommended that the next stage of the bidding process remain open, such that other companies have a window, that is 10 business days, where they are able to purchase the request for proposal and submit a technical and financial proposal by the deadline. Now, they had sent the plans of the market to show the areas that are built up and not built up. Did you have an opportunity to see those?
Yes, I have seen the maps of various areas.
And for the project that they
Exactly.
wanted?
Yes.
Let me
yes.
just, I think the request for expression of interest stated the markets that they specifically wanted to develop. Can you assist us by giving us the details of those?
The
markets, the specific markets that they wanted to develop, that the project was supposed to cover. I'll just see if I can find that. Okay, so the proposed markets the following markets were recommended due to availability of empty space for market development: Backwater Fish Market, Latrikunda Sabiji, Abuko Sandika. And then it said the following markets should be considered for market expansion after significant consultations, in bracket town hall, with the market vendors to ensure that they are willing to relocate their temporary structures and have first priority in moving into a new canteen structure. That is moving from daily fees to canteen rental. So those markets are Bundung Borehole, Serekunda Car Park, Serekunda Mbari Pa Dembo, and the fruit market near traffic lights. So this project was
Latrikunda.
Latrikunda, Sabiji, Backwater Fish Market, and Abuko initially.
Yeah.
So you have seen the maps that were
Yes.
prepared. Now, from the meeting of the task force minutes, from the minutes of the meeting, it is clear that they received only one expression of interest, which was from Finished Profiles. And they recommended that the RFP be open and businesses would have a window of 10 business days to purchase and submit a technical and financial proposal.
Yes.
Now, considering the scope of the works, do you think that 10 business days, in your opinion, after going through various projects, do you think that 10 business days is sufficient for any serious company to purchase the bid documents and then prepare a financial and technical proposal for the structure or the project that they required?
No, 10 days may not be enough.
So because they would ask for, I've seen instances where they've asked for
Extension.
a reduction of the time.
No, increase of, yeah.
Increased
Just-
is usually for the bid opening,
Yeah,
but there's
sometimes
usually an application for reduction for the period that they're supposed to submit.
Actually, the period is supposed to be 30 days.
It's supposed to
But
be 30
sometimes,
days.
Yeah, due to some reasons, they may request for the bidding document to be shortened to. And of course, the time for bid opening is also the duration for the bidding. So they sometimes request for the bidding period to be shortened from 30 to
But where they want the bidding period to be shortened, they have to seek approval from your office? So you said it's usually 30 days. They're now recommending 10 business days instead of 30 days.
Normally, we don't give approval to 10 days. It could be 2 weeks, and that is 14 days, but not less than that, normally.
Okay. So yesterday we had gone through the form for RFP that had the provision for expression of interest as well, and I believe you had confirmed that the two should come to your office for approval and then they need to go through the steps.
Correct.
And in this instance, do you have any proof that they published the RFP or the expressions of interest?
Well, under normal circumstances, there should be evidences attached to a submission, probably a printout of the publication and the like, but in this case, it is not. So it was a long time I couldn't remember, and I cannot find it in the records that the evidence was provided. Sometimes we make clarifications by making telephone calls and then also make verifications as to whether what they are saying is true or not.
Okay, so I'll take you back to the meeting minutes of the 21st November 2019.
21st of November 2019.
So they had said that at paragraph 3.3, the design for the canteen project should be based on the size and the need of the different vendors. The Vice Chair emphasized that KMC should assist in identifying maps for the water, electricity, telephone facilities to avoid breakages of pipe and wires. The Contracts Committee approved the recommendation of the task force. In order to encourage competition, the task force has recommended that the next stage of the bidding process remain open, such that other companies have a window, 10 business days, where they're able to purchase the request for proposal and submit a technical and financial proposal by the deadline. The Contracts Committee approved the request for proposal to be submitted to GPA. That was what they decided in their minutes, in the Contracts Committee minutes of the 21st November. Then they wrote to your office on the 25th of November, 2019, forwarding the request for proposal, the minutes from the Contracts Committee meeting on 21st November 2019, which is the one we just went through, and the summary report of the expression of interest received. Have you seen that letter?
Yes.
So now, based on that, they've attached the documents that they're relying on to get your approval to proceed. And
Correct.
from those minutes, you see that they have recommended 10 days for the proposals to be submitted.
Correct.
So your office wrote back on the 18th December 2019. Can you tell us what your decision was?
Having reviewed the submissions, the authority noted the following. The council intends to build, through private finance initiative, various markets in the KMC area. The private sector developer will be provided the land, will be provided the land. The demarcations of the respective markets will be made available to bidders. The recovery of the investment to be through rental charge on market vendors. The council may participate in the equity of this project. Different situations with markets, as Bakote Fish Market, Latrikunda Sabiji and Abuku, Sandika conditions are different from Bundung Bohol, Serekunda Car Park, Serekunda Market, Padembo and Fruit Market new traffic light, as stated by your good selves. It is easily noted from the above analysis that there cannot be comparable bidders with present documentation publicly available. It is important, therefore, that the council to commission studies to clarify most of the above questions and issues, prepare an adequate report from which proper requirements can be derived to facilitate a proper tender process. The authority, therefore, directs that a feasibility study be commissioned for a market infrastructure to be financed through a PFI and cost recovery mechanism. The product of this will then be used to carry out a transparent tender process with adequate safeguards in contractual terms and conditions. The study should facilitate proper risk allocation and hence avoid a very low tender response rate, as is the case with this expression of interest. So this was the decision taken by the authority as a response to their request.
Can you just tell us what PFI is? You said that the market infrastructure is to be financed through a PFI and cost recovery mechanism.
Private finance initiative.
Private financing initiative. Also, you recommended that they conduct a feasibility study. Do you know whether this feasibility study was ever commissioned?
I'm not sure because the report is not submitted, but it was required to be.
Do they usually submit feasibility study reports to your office?
When requested for, sometimes, yes.
As
Some
in, like, when you have
institutions will-
recommended it in the letter,
Exactly, yes.
do they? Or institutions do?
Institutions sometimes do, because they are for the subsequent submissions. Our decisions will be based on some of the requests that we made, and without them, a decision cannot be taken. So in most cases, institutions will submit, and if they don't, we still maintain our stand until the documents are provided, in most cases.
So on the 9th of January 2020, they wrote back to you, following that letter of the 18th December 2019, and they said maps of KMC's markets, clearly showing the built-up area and non-built-up area, database of KMC's markets with key information such as dimensions, types of canteens, number of canteens, type of goods sold, services available, key contact persons, etc. Your office wrote back on the 16th of January 2020 in response to their letter dated 9th January 2020. And you have said that you are in receipt of the resubmission of additional information regarding the RFP documents relative to the above captioned procurement. However, include the following in terms of reference of the request for proposal. The conditions of contracts for the procurement, that is general and specific conditions of contract, how the revenue collected will be shared between the KMC and the private partner, what percentage KMC will retain from the revenue collected, and clearly outline how risk will be shared during contract implementation. Additionally, please submit to the authority GPPA Form 005, record of request for proposals, and the bidding documents through request for proposals. This can be found in the authority's website. And he said, please be reminded of the recent circular from the Finance Ministry to all local government authorities on the need to get approval before taking on loans or contingent liabilities. Reference AMD 30/41/01, Part 9, AG. Copies attached for ease of reference. But there was no approval given at this point.
No.
Can I refer you to the requisition form? The requisition form is dated the 30th January 2020.
Yes.
Okay, so they've said, please procure the following, check as necessary, and they've indicated works. And it says that the Kanifing Municipal Council owns markets and land, which will be leased to the successful bidder, from which this request for proposal is issued. Market infrastructure. So this would be a works requisition. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So they've said that the funds availability confirmed, yes. And it's been signed by Nyima Kamara, Sheriff Njai as the budget officer, and Jaja Cham, a CEO or acting CEO, I'm not sure. So these were signed on the 4th of February 2020. They attached the Form 005, Record of Request for Proposal. This was signed on the 3rd of February 2020. And they have said that the estimated value of the procurement is not available. The cost will vary depending on the technical proposals. They said, will the procurement be subject to international competitive tendering? They've ticked yes. Is that right?
Yes.
And they said the process is open to both domestic and international bidders. Where it says, will expression of interest be invited? They have said yes. Proposed selection procedure. They have said the council will seek technical and financial proposals in an open manner in order to find a partner to upgrade market infrastructure. Now this was as at the 3rd of February 2020, and they submitted it to you by a letter dated the 4th of February 2020. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, as at that time, there was no feasibility study presented to your office?
Not presented.
There was no proof of the previous expression of interest that was floated. Now, on 7th,
Sorry.
yes,
In addition to that, there was no evidence of publication since they have ticked the column which says they were doing this through international tender. And there was no evidence given to you to show that that was done.
It was not given, not provided.
Yes, and given the lengthy the lengthy list of issues that you found to be shortcoming in their request, this is what is contained in your letter dated the 18th of December 2019. You have listed most of these items that you needed them to furnish you. And on the 16th of January 2020, you also indicated some other conditions that they have not fulfilled, which they did not respond to you. And you further also attached a letter from the Ministry of Finance informing councils that they should not engage in activities that will bind them unless they discuss with them.
Correct.
And for all of these things, there is no evidence. You may check the file and correct me if I am wrong, that they complied with what you were requesting them to do.
Correct.
Pardon,
No.
I did not hear you.
Yes, I said correct, except for some of them, where things like the conditions of the contract, general or specific conditions of the contract, that could be provided with aware of either, in fact, is catered for in the bidding document. In the bidding document, you have a portion where you have a general and specific conditions of the contract. But apart from that, most of what you have as discovered or as observed, most of our highlights were not being adhered to.
We are not heeded to.
They are not heeded to.
And the other issue is that we note that they write to you telling you what they are going to do.
Correct.
Not complying with the law, but what they will do. In other words, they will tell you they are going to go ahead and negotiate with the selected bidders when they have not fulfilled most of the conditions that they needed to have done, or they have not done the needful for them to go to that next step.
Correct.
Is that not what you see in all the letters they write to you?
Correct, yes.
But why is it that you do not highlight the fact that they should follow procedure, that is the law and the regulations?
Actually, if you look at our correspondences since at the beginning, each of the time, yes, you are right.
But for that one, you never highlighted, because you cannot you do not have your documents right. You did not follow due process, and you say you are going to accept, after selecting the bidder of your choice, you are going to proceed to negotiate direct with the person, when that is not what the law is giving you.
No, at the beginning, they express that they're going to use EOI. But at the end of the day, of course, there are no proofs to show that advertisement is done and so on. But then in their write-up, they indicated that it was widely advertised and the like. And initially, there was no terms of reference, but we advised them to use a bidding document. And in the bidding document, you have the general and as well as specific conditions of a contract clearly spelled out. So that is why I said, apart from those ones, of course, there are other points that they have not heeded to. But then
regarding the project personnel on the evaluation criteria, example, master's degree, BSc, or HND. 2, the final date of bid submission should be the same as the bid opening date in clause 2.3 of the proposal data sheet to avoid the risk of tampering with the bids. You can proceed, but please revise the documents as highlighted above and send us a copy for our records. We thank you for your understanding and cooperation and avail ourselves for further guidance on your procurement. So your authority approved the documents, asking them to amend certain things, but you didn't point out that you did not receive the feasibility study.
Yes, it's not indicated, but again, this is a conditional approval subject to these points that we have highlighted. In addition to the orders, we expect them to, of course, amend the bidding document and send us the amended version. So here, our approval is conditional.
It's conditional to these 2 points. It's not conditional to any other points. Because from this, it looks like you've given them approval. You said that they can go ahead, but they should revise in accordance with these 2 points and then send you the document. So from a reading of this, it doesn't even look like you expect them to send it to you before they go ahead. You have told them to go ahead.
Is that the case, Mr. Saya?
Pardon?
Is that the case?
Yes, yes.
Please answer the question so that we can move on.
Now, they had written to you again after they floated the RFP, to request for an extension of the bid opening session. Now, they wrote to you on the 12th of March 2020, and they've said that the bid opening session was supposed to be March 13th, and they're requesting an extension to March 20th, 2020.
Correct.
Is this right? Okay.
Yes.
So on the 12th of March 2020, your office wrote back to them and you approved the extension for the bid opening. What is the process when they apply for an extension to open the bids? Because as we have said, we noted before, the time was 10 days. So this extension, what is the process for the extension?
Now, subject to the approval of the contracts committee, which may feel it or see the need for extension, it should be in a written form to the authority. Now, the authority will look at the reasons why extension and then approve or otherwise. But the most important thing is to ensure that the ground is level for competition, and that is equal opportunity and equal information should be shared with all the interested parties. That is the most important, so that whatever information is provided to any bidder should be the same information or opportunity accorded to any other competitor.
But we're aside, did you come across any contracts committee meeting minutes in which they agreed to extend the bid period before seeking approval?
Actually, no, I have not seen any minutes relative to that. It was just explained in the letter.
So you have said previously that the authority has standard bid evaluation documents.
Yes.
May I refer you to the one that they submitted to your office?
Okay.
And it says date, invitation for bids issued, notice, 12th February 2020, in Standard Point and Foroya. Did they attach any evidence to show that they published in those?
No evidence, as I said earlier.
And the RFP, the requisition form and the form 005, I believe it was, where they said that it would be open to international bidders. There's no indication on this that they...
It was open international.
Open to, yes. Then they've said number
So
of.
for purposes
Sorry.
of clarity, are you saying that there was no evidence to show that there was invitation internationally to participate in this tender?
Actually, as per the request, they are supposed to use open international tendering. Now, the only thing that is lacking is evidences to show that this was done. We don't have any evidence to show that the advertisement was open to all potential suppliers, either local or international.
If, Mr. Sanyang, if you intend to do open international tender, what do you consider as evidence that they have complied with the rules?
Now, at local level, apart from the websites, we may require them to give proofs of publication, for example, in weak newspaper like Standards, you have Foroya and the like, and the date of publication, and so on and so forth. Now, if it is in the websites, they have to indicate the website that publication was done and which dates was this done.
So that would be sufficient proof.
Yes, when that is
international
shown,
tender.
if the website and other information is given, yes, we can also cross-check. We can go to the website and verify whether it was done or not.
Thank you. Councillor.
When the evaluation documents are sent to your office with a request for approval of their award, is the fact that there's no proof that it was published ever an issue in deciding whether to approve their award or not?
Why the evaluation report together with award decision or recommendation was sent to the authority for approval?
When it is sent to the authority for approval, the award is when the contracts committee has decided who to award the tender to, they write to your office seeking approval.
Yes.
Now, you have said that you evaluate the documents. I mean, you look at the documents, review their evaluation process and everything to check that it went through the right steps and
Correct.
everything
Yes.
before you approve.
Yes.
Now, something like this, where the whole purpose of the existence of your authority is to ensure that public funds are spent wisely,
Correct.
right? Now, they have sent these things to you. You have no way of knowing whether or not they actually publish the tender. There's only one person who has expressed interest, right? Is this not something that you would consider before even deciding whether to approve or not?
Actually, yes, it should have been considered.
But in this case, it was not.
Well, like I said, it's been a long time. Sometimes we make telephone conversations to make certain verifications.
But why would you make telephone conversations when everything they're sending you is documented?
Now, if, for example, they correspond and if it is not indicated in their write-up and we communicated and they indicate to us that it was publicized on date X, Y, and Z, and the website is given, we can also verify from whatever information is available.
So, like now, you have the file in front of you. How will you know if this was done? Whether there was a telephone call,
No,
whether there was a publication?
I have said that as far as this submission is concerned, there is no proof. What I also said is sometimes we make clarifications using telephone conversations.
So that's
And
what I'm
this file
saying.
has been a long time, and I cannot remember whether clarifications were sought by telephone conversations.
So maybe
But
let me
as far as
rephrase
the-
my question. Does it make sense to you to conduct clarification on something so significant that would affect the award by telephone conversation? When it's time for you to prove that it was done?
Now, the clarifications may not require a yes or no answer. The clarification may require telling us exactly if it is done. They give us evidences of the date and time when this was done on a newspaper, or if it is on a website, they tell us and we go further to clarify. Yes, I agree that in situations like this, it's going to be very difficult to prove. But then that is what I am talking about, that sometimes clarifications would be done using telephones and then directing us to areas where we can go and clarify or verify.
So are you saying that the right thing to do is to get documentation of proof rather than verifying via phone calls?
Correct, yes.
So the bid closing time and date is 20th of March 2020 at 11 a.m. So they said the number of bids received is 1. Bid security, validity expiry date is not available. Please go to page 6. Under the record of tender opening, it says the following bids were received by the closing deadline fixed on the 20th of March 2020 at 11 a.m. and were publicly opened and read at 11 a.m. on the same date. GPA Form 013, record of tender opening, is attached as an annexure of this report. Bidder identification, name, finished profiles. This is the same company that was the only one that responded to the expression of interest. And if address, Canifing Industrial. Currency, Dallas's. Amount, $179,035,967. Now, the bid security amount should be 2% of that 179 million odd. Is that correct?
Correct.
If you go to page 7, you will see that under table 3, record of receipt of bid security, finished profiles, bid security amount, $1,875,521 90 bututs, and the bid security source is Gamstar Insurance. I'm going to ask you to do a little calculation to tell us what 2% of $179,035,967 is.
Council, can you please tell me the sum total, the amount?
The amount, the bid amount?
Yes.
Is 179 million.
179.
035, that's 35,000.
Yes.
$967.
967. This is 2% of this.
No, that's the bid amount. So he's going to do the calculation for the 2%.
For the 2%.
2% of 179,035,976. Sorry, 67. 2% of that is 3,580,000. That is us 3,580,000. 791.34.
7?
If my calculation is wrong, is correct, I have something like 3,780,790. Sorry, 580,719.34.
So 2% of the bid amount is 3,580,719 and 34 batuts. Now that far exceeds the bid security amount that they provided. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now when you go to page 8, where they have the evaluation criteria requirements, that has to do with the bidding documents, the table on top of page 8.
Yes.
They have said signature on bid form and price schedule. They've put the bidding documents reference and they said they complied. Is that right?
Yes.
Bid security, amount, validity, format and terms, they have said that they complied.
Comply.
Is that right?
Yes.
Bid validity period complied. Terms of reference, they said complied. Now, do you agree that they complied with the bid security amount?
No, they don't, because as per my calculation, the bid security should amount to 3 million and above.
Okay.
So 1 million.
So under the table below, 4.1.1, they have said that technical proposal was responsive, financial proposal was responsive. And conclusion and recommendation for contract award, this is page 12. They have recommended Finish Profile, the Gambia, of Kanifing Industrial Estate to be awarded the contract. And the estimated date, month, year of contract signing is 29 June 2020. The estimated delivery to project site or completion period is 29 June 2021. And the proposed contract amount is $179,035,967. You haven't found it?
Yes, yes.
You found it? Okay.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, you are right.
Okay. Now, I believe this was signed by... Can you just confirm who signed for that?
They include Senabu M. Sonko, chairperson,
Okay.
Musaba, deputy mayor, Dauda Bari, member, Dr. Ali Uketa, director of finance, Nyima Kamara, director of planning, Binta Jane Jallo, member, and Fatumata S. Cham, procurement manager or secretary to the contracts committee.
Now, Council, before you proceed,
Yes.
they have indicated that the technical and the financial proposals were responsive. Did you confirm that?
Yes, I want to believe that at the office level, because when a decision is made, of course we are not always perfect, but we verify in most cases to ascertain that the information provided as a justification is in line.
So in this instance, the technical and the financial were responsive.
I want to believe that the technical and financial proposals are responsive.
Okay, thank you. Council.
I refer you to Kanifing Municipal Council Contracts Committee meeting minutes of the 20th of March 2020. And in attendance, you have Senabu Martin Sonko, CEO, Chairperson, Musaba, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Binta Jane Jallo, Nyima Kamara, Director of Planning, Dr. Alukato, Director of Finance, Sheriff Njai, Deputy Director of Finance, Fatumata Saho Cham, Manager, Procurement, Secretary, Usman Gay, Clerk of Council, Philip Spencer, Governance Advisor, and Momodu Jallo, GPPA Rep.
the minutes of the contracts meeting dated
28th March.
28 March.
20 March 2020. If you can't find it, I can ask the registrar to bring the file so I assist
Yes.
you. You found it?
28 March 2020, yes.
Okay, so you have Momodu Jallo as the GPPA rep.
Exactly, yes.
Is Momodu Jallo still with your institution?
Is Momodu Jallo?
Still with your institution?
No, he is not.
Okay. Now, this meeting was for the bid opening for the bus service, the bid opening for the market infrastructure, and any other business. So the bid opening for the market infrastructure is at paragraph 2.0. And they have said, members were informed that only one company in the name of Finnish Profile submitted a bid. The company's address was declared as Canifing. Now, here they have said that the company's bid amount was $93,776,055 and 3 bututs. Now, just to confirm, this is different from the sum that is contained in the evaluation report.
Yes, yes.
And the bid security, they said bid security was obtained from Gamstar Insurance, amounting to $1,875,521 and 90 butus, and they have said that is 10% of the total cost. Now this is wrong as well, am I right?
Yes, correct.
1.875 is about 2% of 93 million odd.
Yeah.
So they have said that the bid validity was pegged at 90 days.
Mr. Sanyang, you got to respond to the mic. If you nod your head, that cannot be captured as your evidence. So you have to indicate whether you accept what she is saying, or you concur, or you disagree, so that we know exactly what is your opinion.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So they've said the bidder adduced that it was difficult to make proper technical and financial feedback without a tripartite meeting to ensure they know what KMC really wanted and what is feasible. He stated that the initial sum given here was based on a survey, but it may not be 100% accurate. The chairperson thanked the bidders for turning up and the comments made, which she assured them would be put into consideration. Shortly after the bidders were excused to leave the chamber, the Director of Finance said, as far as he is concerned, the information supplied by the bidder was limited and there is need to ask the company to provide additional details relating to their bid. Is this normal? Is this a normal procedure? After they've received the bid, to ask for additional information?
Actually, it's not normal, but already a bidder is being identified. And once a bidder is identified, one can go into negotiation. And in negotiating, you can ask for additional requirements or clarifications or whatsoever.
Now, for
Because
purposes of, Mr. Sanyang, sorry for cutting you. For purposes of clarity, if you identify, do you mean the person has been selected?
Not necessary yet. It's been identified subject to certain fulfillment of certain agreements and so on.
So if there are one or two, what would happen in that instance?
Now, if there are one or two, it depends on the kind of information that you are requesting for. You cannot request for information that, of course, was should have been provided prior to or during the bidding period.
Thank you. Council, you can proceed.
So would you agree that the bid price is information that should have been provided prior, and it should be a certain amount? As in, you don't bid saying that this is a tentative amount.
The bid amount?
Yes.
Whether it should be what?
It is the amount that you have provided is the amount that you have said that your bid is.
Yes,
You
yes.
cannot then say, well, it's a tentative amount.
No,
It
no,
might
no,
change.
no,
So
no,
in
it
this
should-
instant where they have said that the bidder said that the initial sum given here was based on a survey, but it may not be 100% accurate, would you consider
No,
that he has met?
That is not it should
That
not
is
be
not-
acceptable.
So in that instance, would you say that his financial proposal is not responsive?
Exactly.
If he's saying that the amount is subject to change, would you consider that his proposal was actually
The financial
responsive?
may not be responsive, should not be responsive.
But this is why I asked the question, because your technical and your financial proposal should be certain of what you are doing. So if your technical and your financial proposal is not certain, then I cannot see how you will be able to be considered as somebody who is successful in the bidding.
You are right.
Thank you.
So your GPPA observer opined that it was the duty of the bidder to conduct a survey and thereafter provide the committee with the actual bid amount. He said in procurement you look at good value for money.
Actually, it should not have been in that way, because
It should not have been in that what?
it should not have been as suggested by our observer.
But your
Because-
observer is saying that the bidder should have done that before submitting his amount. He should have done his survey and given the committee the actual bid amount.
As opined by the chair.
No. He's saying, your GPPA rep is saying that it was the duty of the bidder to conduct a survey and thereafter provide the committee the actual bid amount.
What I am saying is, in their write-up, they indicated that the both technical and financial proposals are all responsive.
Mhm.
What I am discovering is that the financial proposal is not responsive simply because it was not even certain. Now, you can only compare when and make a final decision when the bids are out. Because if it is not certain, what about the orders that are rejected based on probably their financial issues? So it must be certain. The financial proposal must have been certain for one to determine whether it is responsive or not.
Because usually they would go for the one that has the lowest.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
First they look at the technical.
Technical.
And then look at the lowest in terms of
Finance.
being responsive to the technical issues.
So the CEO at this juncture harped on the sustainability issue and called for the bidder to be given the opportunity and time to conduct more research. So my question is this normal? If the bidder did not meet the requirements, is it normal for you to give them, especially when they're the sole bidder, is it normal for you to give them another opportunity to go and do some more surveys and more research and then come back to you?
Actually, in normal circumstances, if they found the technical proposals not responsive, they should have cancelled and relaunch. I think that should have been the best way forward, rather than giving opportunities to others and not to the other bidders.
So at this point, you will say that both the technical and the financial proposals were not responsive, contrary to what they said in their...
Based on these submissions, yes,
Yes.
they are not.
They are not.
They are not.
Thank you.
And also what the CEO was suggesting was not in line with procurement practice or legislation.
Yes, correct.
Now, it says the governance advisor proposed that the task force be allowed to meet again and look at the details and thereafter make recommendations to the contracts committee. And then they went on about, okay, the chairperson proposed for a meeting of the markets and bus services to meet on Tuesday, 23rd March. Now, on the 4th of June 2020, the Kanifing Municipal Council Contracts Committee met again. And in attendance, you had Zainabu Martin Sonko, Chairperson, Fatimata S. Cham, Dr. Aluketa Daudabari Abdullah Kebe, Binta Jane Jalo, Musa Abba, Nyima Kamara, and Usman Gay. Have you seen those?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
So this was again, agenda item 1 was, oh sorry, not this one. Agenda item 2 was the market infrastructure expansion. And Here they're saying that the CEO reminded members that only one company, Finnish Profiles, bidded, and the company has submitted additional information to the committee based on certain clarification and advices brought forward by the council lawyer. The meeting went through both the technical and financial proposal on the TOR, and the member observed and inquired about how the bidder would mobilize 179 million financing package and vision for the project. So here, in these minutes, they have gotten the right figure,
Yes, as opposed to the
93 million. Says the Director of Planning observed that the bidder has stated in his financial proposal that a financier who offered to provide the required capital needed for the project. So from that paragraph, would I be right in saying that the bidder did not have the funds for the project and would require a financier?
Correct.
Is this also normal? I mean, I know that some would require funding, but would you not need to have the funding or proof of the funding at the time of bidding?
Proofs of the funding should have been provided as part of the bidding. Should have been provided
as part of the bidding.
As part of the bidding process.
So at 3.4, it says, it was, however, revealed that the potential partner was Reliance Financial Services, as stated by the Director of Planning. The expert member observed that he does not believe any financial institution can provide financing without taking into consideration the Central Bank of the Gambia's single obligor limit, which is no bank shall lend more than 25% of its capital to an individual borrower. He said that he further advised that the council should be extra vigilant in ensuring both the technical and financial proposals are properly scrutinized and agreed upon before submission of the evaluation report to GPPA for approval. So they've evaluated, does it look like they've evaluated and they're trying to fix their issues before sending to you? Because the meeting that they had from the bid opening was 20th of March, 2020 was the bid opening. April, May. This meeting is the 4th of June, and they still have not submitted to GPPA their evaluation report. Is this normal?
There is a time frame, I think, for bid opening and submission of the evaluation report.
Do you know what that time frame is?
I cannot remember exactly how long it should take.
But is March, April, May, June, is 3 months excessive?
That seems to be too long.
Is it provided for in the legislation or the regulations?
I think it should be provided in the bidding document, I guess. I'm not very sure, but there should be a time frame for bid opening.
Can you help us check and confirm for us?
Yes, I will try to do that during break and probably when we resume.
Please note that. Thank you.
So the CEO opined that the approach now is to have a contract for each market and not the original lump sum as stated before. She further informed the meeting that the bidder was informed to remove 2 markets, Traffic Light Market and Bundong Market, due to circumstances beyond council's control. The proposed Traffic Light Market in particular was removed due to the road expansion exercise by NRA in preparation for the upcoming OIC conference. Bundong Market will be financed through council's development budget in the next fiscal year. Is this also usual after receiving the bid to reduce the scope of the works? Because the whole idea, so when they're filling the form and they put that there's funds available for the project, the idea is that they're supposed to have funds allocated for that project. Is that right? So now, is it usual for them to reduce the scope so drastically at this stage in the procurement process?
Yes, it's possible.
It's normal.
is possible.
So what would happen when they do this?
When that happens, I think they should, of course, go back to the drawing board and then look at the proposal again in terms of scope, and then also match it with the finances, the financial proposal. Because if you look at the explanation, according to them, the reduction of scope is due to the expansion of the route.
That's for one market. So
Yes,
there were
one of
6
the market.
markets that were highlighted in the reports. 3 were definite and another 3 were possible. If you remember the TOR.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now they've removed 2 markets, traffic lights and Bundu. Traffic lights is the one that is due to the roadworks.
Yes.
Bundung, they've said that they'll put it in their development project.
Correct.
Okay, so like that, are you saying that they would go back to the bidder or they would redo the tender?
Now, if it requires reducing the scope, there are certain steps that could be taken. They can look at the whole proposal carefully and weigh the benefits and, of course, the risks involved, the financial and so on. And then they can even decide to cancel and relaunch everything. They can decide to reduce the scope and then negotiate the remaining lots.
Excuse me. So in this circumstance, there's one bidder. So where there were other
Okay.
bidders who maybe did
Okay.
not.
In fact, can I comment here?
Okay.
Because even with the markets, their locations differ. The kind of work expected may also differ. So it should have been divided into lots, and then each of the lots bidded separately, so that if one of the lots is cancelled, as in this case for the traffic light one, the contract will be based on the remaining lots. Then it would have been easier to, of course, know how much the financial proposal should be.
So as I was saying, where you have one bidder, and it's possible that other bidders did not participate because of the scope, and you've now drastically reduced the scope, do you think it would be better to relaunch so that it's open again and other people can participate rather than going with this one bidder?
My suggestion would be, I would have recommended for them to relaunch, because initially the whole project is not divided into lots to know the one like that of the traffic light which is out now, how much remains. So my recommendation would have been best to relaunch the whole process again.
Mr. Sergeant, having realized that the documents that form the foundation of your bid were not responsive, don't you think it was the duty of GPPA to advise that you must cancel and re-advertise because the bid documents have issues, and you cannot continue to cherry pick what you need to do and what you don't need to do, which will not give value for money at the end of the day.
Can I just
And
assist the witness? At this point, they haven't sent the documents yet to GPPA. So
they
that's what
haven't?
we were talking about. They haven't yet sent, this is their committee meeting where they're
Meetings.
discussing what to do. So
Okay.
they haven't sent the documents to GPPA yet.
Okay, all right, that's fine. You can proceed.
Okay. So at paragraph 3.9, they said the Director of Planning and Development suggested for the consultant to review the BOQ so as to determine the authenticity of the amount stated in the bid prior to signing of the contract agreement. This will help to mitigate any potential overpricing of materials by the bidder. Members discussed and agreed for the bidder to request a letter of intent from his financier so as to confirm its commitment prior to any submission to the regulatory authority. So is this commitment that you're saying that should have been provided with the bid documents? Then in respect
Yes.
of getting a consultant to review the BOQ to determine the authenticity of the amount, is this the stage at which they do that? Would they not have had to have a general idea of the market prices?
This is not the right time, and it should have been done. That is why the law provides that apart from the 3 key members of a contracts committee, there should be others co-opted, like technicians or experts in the areas to give technical advice when the need arises. So in this case, if there is a technician relative to the subject matter, then probably there wouldn't have been that need to talk about a consultant to come in.
Because that probably would have been dealt with during the bid evaluation.
Exactly.
Now, on
But
oh, sorry.
is that not the reason why you have an observer during the bid evaluation process? That you are part and parcel of it, but you just observe, you don't participate?
Yes, this is part of it, but if I
Then-
can...
Yes, then what went wrong? Because if your observer was there, he would have advised accordingly.
The observer was not present
I
at
am
this
not
meeting.
sure if the observer is part of this or
The
that.
observer was present at the bid opening. So this was the bid evaluation,
Okay.
which was done afterwards. I know it looks like I'm assisting the witness, but I just don't want any errors on the record, that's why.
Okay.
Yes. So,
So is it only your personnel only participate during the bid opening, and that's
Yes.
the only process they participate in?
They should not be part of the evaluation. Sometimes they may be called upon as provided in Regulation 7 when there are meetings. When the need arises, they can be invited. But most importantly, during bid opening.
That's the
So
only
that-
time they appear.
Pardon?
That's the only time they appear to participate.
They may be called upon when the need arises as required by Regulation 7. Sometimes they may be called upon for bid evaluation, but still as observers, not as...
But do you normally attend even without being
No,
invited?
Bid evaluation, no.
No, I'm not talking about the bid evaluation. I said the bid opening. Do you normally attend without being invited by the PO?
Yes, sometimes, even if we are not, sometimes when we feel that the contract or whatsoever have very significant value for money implications, yes, we do attend. Whether they...
But how would you know that they are scheduling a meeting to open the bids?
It's always shown in the bidding document that the tender will be floated from this time to this time. And according to the law, the deadline for bid submission and bid opening falls on the same day with a difference of only 15 to 30 minutes. So if in the bid document it is indicated that the deadline for bid submission is 12 noon on Monday, 20th, we'll know that bid opening is going to be on Monday noon, maybe only a difference of 15 to 30 minutes. So we always know.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Council, you may proceed.
thank you. So there's a letter from Kanifing Municipal Council to the Director General, Gambia Public Procurement Authority, and it's dated the 24th of June, 2020, and it's titled Award Market Infrastructure. Kanifing Municipal Council would like to submit to your institution the decision of the Council's Contracts Committee to award the request for proposals on market infrastructure to finish profiles. Now, this is dated 24th June 2020, and the bid opening was 20th March 2020. I'm not sure if Chairperson had asked you to verify the provision of the law as to, yes, okay. This letter is a follow-up to a letter from your institution, reference, etc., dated 7th February 2020, where the open tender method was approved. The request for proposal was revised as per your recommendation. Please accept the following information as appendices for your review. Terms of reference, RFP for the market infrastructure project to outline the objectives of the project. Tender submissions received by the deadline and open in the presence of GPPA. Minutes from the contracts committee reviewing the tender submissions, GPPA forms. Now, your office wrote back on the 7th of July, 2020, and you referenced the letter dated 24th June 2020, and you said that you have reviewed the evaluation report regarding the market infrastructure within the Kanifing municipality. Based on the recommendation by members of your contracts committee, I hereby convey to you the authority's approval to proceed with the award of contract for the expansion and upgrading of market infrastructure within the Kanifing municipality through a public-private partnership agreement at a total project cost of $179 million, $967, through under a build, operate, and transfer BOT for a proposed period of 10 years. Then you said this approval is subject to the submission of an independent engineer's report on the price bill of quantities for the proposed market. The authority hereby requests you to provide us with a signed copy of the contract document for our records. So we had discussed the independent engineer or consultant's report on the price BOQ. As you had said, this was supposed to be done during the evaluation.
Yes.
So why would your authority approve and then make the approval subject to a provision of this? So what would happen if they provide a report and the report is saying that the BOQ is excessive and they can't enter into that contract?
Now, it may not be justifiable for us to give approval, but then in cases where even an amount is indicated, an offer is indicated, it can still be subjected to negotiations, and if the procuring organization feels that the amount quoted cannot be provided, the law provides that the procurement can be cancelled and relaunched, or if the need arises. So negotiation is acceptable.
So we've also gone through the documents, and you've agreed that the bid security was not sufficient, that the financial proposal, I believe, was not responsive. What would be the reason for your
both financial
and technical? Very well. What would be the reason for your office approving this procurement, this award? Would it be that they didn't go through the documents properly?
Probably the action officers at that time.
Can you tell us first who signed that letter?
The letter is signed by one Paul Mendy. Is it the letter dated?
Letter dated 7th July 2020.
7th July.
It's signed by Sena Bunyang for Director General. Do you see that? It's on the next page.
Wow.
Registrar, can you please kindly show
This-
the witness through council's records?
Yes, I have sent the letter. No, send up nothing. No, it's not this. No, that is what I'm looking for because they are all mixed up.
Registrar, perhaps just bring the file and he can hold on to the letter and then I'll give you back. So, Mrs. Sanya, we were asking who signed that letter.
The letter, I am yet to see the letter, but according to the Honorable.
Yeah, okay, just hold on so that she can.
Okay. Yes, the letter is signed by Sena Bunyang for the Director General.
So is it that Sena Bunyang would have been the one who reviewed the documents?
Yes, but it goes through a long process.
Okay, so can you tell us that process?
Now, when letters come or submissions are done to the Director General, they will be minuted to the various heads of departments. And then this will assign the submission to an action officer who will take an action and review and then take a decision which will be communicated to the directors again and then before finalizing. Then it will go to the Director General for vetting and so on before finalization. So is the authority.
So
Whoever signs on behalf of the authority,
Director General.
The Director General.
And who was the Director General in 2020?
Director was one Salum Malang.
Sorry?
Salum Malang.
Salum Mane.
Malang.
So you were going to tell us about how it would be that the authority would approve this, bearing in mind all the issues that we have highlighted in the documents.
Mr. Sanyang, is it not, before you answer Council's question, after writing this letter for the 7th of July, did you receive anything on the bill of quantities?
No, the bill of quantity was not submitted as requested in our previous letter.
Did you also receive a signed contract?
No, it was not received.
Can you tell us whether this this project was implemented or not?
I will find out, I'm not sure.
My last question is on the issue of the bill of quantities. Is it not something that you can find in the technical proposal? The bill of quantities, is it not something that you will find in the technical proposal?
Yes, it can be part of it. It should be part of the technical proposal.
Thank you. Council, you can proceed.
I'm not sure whether
Sorry,
I got an answer to my question.
Yes.
Let me still comment.
Yeah.
Because the bill of quantity normally will, at the end of the day, talk about how much it can, and that may also appear under financial. In fact, it may be more suitable under financial than the technical.
But do you agree that it could be in both?
Yes, because in the technical aspect, it will show you all the steps that are necessary, the number of these things, and then the other column will only show the price. The price can only come if you conform to the other aspect of it mentioned on the left-hand side of the table.
Okay, Council, you may ask the question.
I was saying that I'm not sure whether my question was answered in respect of.
No, it was not. I interjected.
Oh,
Sorry
okay.
about it.
So, Mr. Sanya, please assist.
Can I have the question again?
How it is that your authority approved the procurement, the award to Finish Profiles, considering all the issues that have just been highlighted in their processes?
Actually, the whole process before final award decision takes a very long time, and at each of the stages, decisions are taken. So given the information before me now, as far as this whole project is concerned, I feel that the contractor should have been disqualified at the stage where the bid security was not sufficient. Should not have even passed that stage up to where all the other documents are submitted. So that is my own opinion.
So, where your authority has gone ahead and granted approval, even with all the lapses that have been noted, and your authority is the regulatory body and ultimately has the final say. In a situation where the council would have been held liable for these lapses, do you agree that the authority should be jointly liable with them?
Actually, given the advice that and also referring to section 47, 49, where the members of the contracts committee, the accounting officer, and so on, are responsible and accountable for whatever procurement decision is taken. I am not saying that the authority can be out completely, but the liabilities.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think the
lies in the
liability
hands
should
of-
be shared between those people that you just listed and the authority?
I don't think the authority can be held liable for.
So if the authority had refused to approve their award, would the award have gone ahead?
The
authority has the final say. If the authority said, we're not approving your award due to this, this, and that, which these reasons that we've highlighted, would the award have gone ahead?
It may not. I'm not. I don't think it could. They could have just proceeded and give the award. But then, like I said earlier, is always a long process that is taking discussions and with exchange of communication before a final decision is taken. But then finally, we believe that to some extent we can share the liabilities, but we feel that subject to section 47, 49, and so on of the Act, the accounting officer and the procuring organization and those responsible for procurement should be held liable for whatever procurement that they have
But
taken.
with your authority sharing liability to some extent, you're saying you agree that your authority should share liability to some extent.
Well, I don't think the authority should. Although
So
it's
then-
our responsibility to ensure that the right thing is done.
And
then-
your authority is responsible for the checks and balances. You give the final say. In fact, you approve every process, every stage of the proceedings. If your authority did not give approval for that award and they went ahead and did it anyway, that's a different matter, is it not?
Yes.
But where your authority has given approval for the award, you have given them the green light to go ahead and and proceed with that award and enter into a contract. So they could not have done it without you.
Agree that they could not have done it without us, but if you
So
go,
my question again, forget that provision that says that they should be liable for the proceedings. This, let's just say that's where it has not come to you. It has now come to you. And you have given them permission. If you had not given them permission, they would not have gone ahead. Do you agree that the authority should have some degree of liability in respect of that?
well, I have not seen anywhere in the Act that because for the contrast committees and the others, it is clearly indicated that the contrast committee and the accounting officers should be held responsible, but I have not seen anywhere in the Act that the authority should be held liable at
So, Section 69 of the 2014 Act, which is a general offense creating section, it says offenses relating to procurement.
section.
69. Subsection 1 reads, a person who contravenes a provision of this Act commits an offense, and where no penalty has been provided for the offense, is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding $1 million, or a term of imprisonment not exceeding 5 years, or both. So, any person who contravenes the provisions of the Act. So if it is found that by not doing your job right, you have acted in contravention of the Act, do you think that you would escape that provision?
Well, anyway, it's left to be interpreted by the laws and the like.
Of
But
course,
then
of
here,
course.
I think the violation for not doing
Your
the
job.
right thing and so on is by the procuring organization.
So the procuring organization did not do their job correctly. You agreed.
Yes,
And the authority did not do their job correctly. You agreed. It is
Yes.
very convenient to say that the body that you're regulating didn't do their job correctly and so they should be punished. But you didn't do your job correctly and you should be allowed to go free. You want to enforce, but you don't want it enforced against you.
not necessarily. We are trying to.
So do you think, considering this, that you should have included a specific provision for your authority in the legislation, in the 2022 legislation, so that your staff can also be held liable, the same way the procurement organization staff should be held liable?
That is what I think so.
So you're in a position to amend your legislation to put specific provisions in that regard?
Yes. I'll take note.
I'm not saying you should, I'm just pointing this out. So they actually did enter into a contract. There's an agreement dated the 2nd of March 2021 between Carnifing Municipal Council and Finish Profiles Gambia Limited. Now, this agreement was entered into after your office gave approval for the award. Just to find out, usually in the bidding documents that are provided by GPPA, there's usually a draft contract, is that correct?
Correct.
So in this instance, the procuring organization has gone ahead and used their own contract. It is not mandatory to use the GPPA contract, is it?
It's not mandatory, yes,
Okay.
because in the bidding document, of course, you have the general conditions of the contract that is applicable to all contracts. But then you also have special conditions for the contract. And in case a procuring organization feels that there are certain conditions that are specific to a particular contract, they should be indicated in the bidding document. But again, they can also use a special contract document which with all terms and conditions more elaborated.
So in this agreement, they have said that KMC is desirous of rehabilitating, expanding, and upgrading the market infrastructure of the Latrikunda Sabiji market by adding 100 kiosk canteens, hereinafter called the project. And for such purposes, KMC has selected the company through a competitive bidding process for the implementation of this project. Now, we remember that the project is a $179 million project, and now it is in respect of one market, and it is in respect of upgrading the market by adding 100 kiosks or canteens. So I refer you to page 2 of the agreement, and they have said that the agreement means this build, operate, and transfer agreement, including all schedules attached hereto, as amended or supplemented from time to time in accordance with clause 17.4. Now, I'm unable to find the contract price in this document. I don't know whether you're in a better position to assist with that, but I have not seen any reference to the contract price, except that there's a schedule which says how they're going to share the funds. So there's no indication of the cost of construction or anything like that?
No, I have not seen anything like contract amount.
So under clause 2.5.1, okay, before that, under 2.5, they have said that the term of the agreement, subject to the termination provisions of this agreement, the term of this agreement shall be for 5 years, as from the date of operation, with an option to renew for a further period of 5 years under the terms set out in this agreement. At the end of the said initial term, this contract will be renewed automatically for successive periods of 5 years certain, unless terminated by either party. Now, the financial obligations of the company. The company is defined. Company means Finish Profiles Gambia Limited, its successors and permitted assignees. Now, the company will pay to KMC a fee for each year, commencing on the first year, the date of operation of the 100 kiosk canteens, and ending on the 31st of December of such year, for each subsequent year until the last year, each calendar year, And in accordance with the provisions of the financial module contained in Schedule 4 of this agreement, the fee payable to KMC by the company shall be the sum of $250,000 for the first year, with an increment of $50,000 every 2 years, provided always that the payment due to KMC shall be prorated for any year that the company is unable to operate the site for the full 12 months. So the fee for each year shall be paid by the company to KMC, or if KMC so directs, the company in writing to a bank account specified in writing. The company shall provide KMC with reasonable access, etc. So those are the financial obligations. And then Schedule 4, which is the financial module, it says number of canteens, year 1, 100. Monthly rental fees, 3,500. This is at page 38. Sorry, in case you haven't followed.
Page
38. Have you seen it?
Schedule 4.
Schedule 4, financial model.
Yes.
So they've said that there will be 100 canteens. They've projected it for 10 years. 100 canteens, and those are 100 canteens for the whole 10 years. Monthly rental fees are 3,500 for year 1 and year 2, 4,000 for year 3, year 4, 4,500 for year 5 and year 6, 5,000 for years 7 and 8, 5,500 for years 9 and 10. And there's service fees of $500 throughout. And then the annual fee payable to KMC for years 1 and 2 will be $250,000. Years 3 and 4, $300,000. Years 5 and 6, $350,000. There's $50,000 increments up to year 10. And the total amount KMC will get in return is $3,500,000. Are you able to confirm this?
Yes.
So this is how the project would have gone. This is the amount that KMC would have received if it went ahead. Now, it was signed by the CEO of KMC, Senabu Martin Sonko, on behalf of KMC, in the presence of Nyema Kamara, Director of Planning and Development, and it was signed by Finnish Profas, Farmang Saho, on behalf of Finnish Profas, and witnessed by Samuel A. Fasakin on the 2nd of March 2021. Now, I refer you to a letter from KMC dated the 17th November 2021.
Council, before you proceed to that letter,
Yes.
Mr. Sanya,
Yes.
how substantially, what is the substantial difference between what is contained in this agreement, which is a contractual agreement between the contractor and KMC, and what was contained in the bidding documents? How substantial is the difference?
Now, like I said before, in the bidding document, there are special conditions of the contract. And if you look at the special conditions of the contract as contained in the bidding document, they are generic for all contracts.
I understand
Now,
all that.
Yes,
What I'm saying
so what
is
I am
that-
saying is,
yes,
there are maybe certain things that are specific to certain contracts.
yeah,
And this is what should be contained in this other document.
yeah.
Anything that is general should be abided by, but also taking note that there are certain things that should
Okay,
be
now
specific
for
to
maybe
any-
my question is not clear. We all know what was the contract sum. It was 179 million plus. That was the contract sum. And it was for the building of a number of markets. Is that not so?
Yes, yes.
And then at what point did everything change and then it was finally agreed Or was this contained in the evaluation report to indicate that every other thing has been abandoned, it's only Serekunda market, and in that Serekunda market, the contractor is supposed to build only 100 stores? Was that contained in the evaluation report that you reviewed?
Yes, I think that was in the evaluation report. But then let me come back again.
No.
Okay.
I just want to be clear, because if you renegotiate the terms,
Yeah.
it should be captured somewhere to show that you renegotiated the terms of the contract and this is what you finally agreed upon.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anywhere, and since we are not privy to what the evaluation report is, and I have noted the difference of what was originally planned for and what is contained in this subsequent agreement. So that is where I have difficulty in understanding as to at what point did they change the whole terms of the contracts and arrive at what they have and signed.
Actually, I think the binding one is the one which they have
signed.
Because
So
in
was this what you conveyed approval for?
yes, approval is given based on
This agreement?
Exactly, yes.
All right, this is what I want to be clear about. Yes, Council.
I was referring the witness to the letter dated 17th November 2021. I believe there might be several letters dated 17th November 2021, but let me just check.
Yeah. There is a letter indicating abandoning of the project.
Okay, so they have minutes of, let me first refer you to the minutes of the meeting of Kanifing Municipal Council Contracts Committee, dated 2nd November 2021, where you had Kajali Jane as Deputy CEO, as Chairman, Abdullah Jane, Procurement Manager, Abdullah Kebe, Expert, Binta Jane Jalo, Deputy Mayor, Nima Kamara, Director of Planning and Development, Sheriff Njai, Deputy Director of Finance, Usman Gay, Clerk of Council, and Jainaba Sandeng, Office of the Clerk. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Okay, so the agenda is to discuss the market PPP, construction of Latrikunda Sabiji market, and other things. So we'll deal with the Latrikunda Sabiji market, which is now the subject of this procurement. It seems that's the, yes, okay. Market PPP, construction of Latrikunda Sabiji. Says the Director of Planning informed members of the Market Infrastructural Development Project initiated by the Council, which was tendered through a competitive bidding won by Finnish Profile Company Limited. Further, she explained that Council had series of engagements with the company whilst they prepared the financial model prior to the contractual agreement, which was finalized and signed in March 2021, for the contractor to implement the project according to the signed contract in 7 months. The project, according to the director, should have constructed 100 canteens at Latrikunda Sabiji Market as per the contract, but the contractor failed to deliver over the agreed contract terms. Hence, this calls for a termination of the contract. The committee's expert, subject matter specialist, said as per the contract, termination should be effected and emphasized that Council should not compromise with the contractor's actions as they went through negotiations several times but to no avail. His advice, therefore, was to terminate the contract and then re-tender based on a clear and straightforward tender process. Finally, members concluded that the contract between Council and Finnish Profiles be terminated and the re-tender process to follow suit. The Deputy CEO said a notice on the termination of contract will be prepared and sent to the aforementioned firm. So during this meeting, they have agreed to terminate the contract entered into with Finnish Profiles. Is that right?
Yes.
And then the letter dated 17th November 2021. It's addressed to the Managing Director of Finish Profiles. And they have said the reference is made to the agreement signed by the Council with your company on the 2nd March 2021 for the development of the market situated at Latrikunda, Sabiji. We originally wrote on the 15th of October 2021, setting out the grounds for termination under the provisions of clause 14.1 of the agreement, and we also wrote on the 22nd October 2021. Given clause 14.1.2, which provides for immediate termination in the event of abandonment, the above referenced contract is terminated with immediate effect. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and then they finally wrote to your office on the 26th November 2021. So they said that they're writing to inform you of this termination and to request your permission to retender for the development of a market at Latrikunda, Sabiji. And they attached the contract with Finish Profiles, the minutes of the Contracts Committee meeting held on 2nd November, and the letter of termination dated 17th November 2021. Do you see the letter?
Yes.
Is that what is contained?
Yes.
Now, did your office respond? I think maybe let me refer you to the letter dated 1st December 2021.
GPPA respond.
Okay, and what was your decision?
That market infrastructure project. We refer to your letter dated 20th November 2021 relative to the above caption subject matter.
Is it 28 or 26?
Yeah. 26th November 2021 relative to the above caption subject matter. The authority acknowledges receipt of your request. However, you are obliged to proceed with your termination of contract with Finish Profile as provided for in clause 14 as per the signed contract agreement between KMC and Finish Profiles for the construction of market at the Latrikunda, Sabiji. Please note that this approval is in line with Regulations 133 of the GPPA Regulation 2019. The citation is not consistent.
Okay.
The authority advises you to retender the procurement and use restricted tender method to select only the most eligible construction company. Invite at least 5 construction companies. We thank you for your understanding. Okay.
So your authority has advised that they use restricted tender in the next procurement. Considering that there was so little competition in the first place when it was open tender, in your opinion, do you think that restricted tender would be a better option than open tender? And as well, do you think that the conditions for restricted tendering were met to recommend restricted tender?
Open tender, as we know, is the default method and would have been the best option. However, the authority advised them to use restricted tender, probably. I'm not very sure whether the because the conditions for the application of restricted tender are clearly stated. So I'm not sure whether these conditions are fulfilled or not. I'm not very sure.
So I just need to check to confirm. I don't believe that the procuring organization mentioned the method of procurement they would like to use. So let me just check to confirm. Yes, so they just said that we are writing to inform you of this termination and to request your permission to retender for the development of the market site at Latrikunda Sabiji. So there was no suggestion that they had decided on the method of procurement, but your authority out of the blue just advises them to use restricted tender method, even though there's no information that would allow the person who wrote this to decide whether or not the conditions for use of restricted tender were met. Who's Babukar Seka?
Or is appropriate in this instance?
Yes.
Yes.
Who's Babukar Seka?
Babukar Seka was a staff with us, but is no more with us. No. He was the action officer for this particular response.
He was the action officer for this particular one?
For this
letter?
Yeah.
So do you think that, having looked at all the circumstances in respect of this procurement, that the conditions for restricted tendering as advised were met?
Actually, the action officer should have stated the conditions under which these particular requests can be fitted.
Yes, but he hasn't stated it. So now I'm asking you whether you believe, considering all the facts that you have seen, that the conditions for advising that restricted tendering method be used have been met.
Actually, looking at all the challenges that this particular procurement procedure went through, the best option would have been to use open tender.
Okay.
However, like I said earlier, I'm not very sure on what basis the action officer used, but then given the time involved and so on and so forth, restricted tender can be used, although...
Yeah, so my question was, were the conditions met for restricted tender?
I'm not sure the conditions are not met.
You're not sure, or the conditions are not met?
Like I said, the action officer must have based his actions on something that I cannot determine at this moment, but I want to believe that open tender could have been the best option.
Yes,
to achieve value for money.
So that's you answering the question that I did not ask. But now the question that I asked, I actually need an answer to. So having gone through all of these, were the conditions met for restricted tendering, or were the conditions not met for restricted tendering?
I'm not sure that the conditions for restricted tender are met.
Okay, that's an answer as well. We'll take that.
Yes, Mr. Sanyang, would it not be true to say that sometimes your office gives unsolicited advice, which creates problem at the end of the day?
It's very uncommon, but I think this was not even solicited. So, and as you said, the advice probably is the wrong advice, even though the advice was not solicited.
Thank you. I believe that it's 5 minutes to 2. It's a convenient point to stop for prayers and lunch. We will be back in an hour's time. Thank you. We may rise.